Before I begin, I just want to say that I like Aliens as a film. I grew up watching it, but at the same time I don't feel that it's a perfect film, and in regards to a lot of the hate that the Covenant is getting, or Prometheus, I'll call it the Ridley Scott prequels, I don't really like that label, as I think that it's deliberately attached to these films to sort of lower them or excoriate them. I noticed that with Aliens, a film that I like, people are giving it a pass, essentially for the same criticisms that they're leveling at Covenant. JD, in one of my more recent videos, says, Angry Joe also bashes it for basically being a dumb monster movie. For example, the crew chooses not to go to a safe planet. They vetted to go to a planet that came out of nowhere and is basically a giant trap. The crew, who are colonists, don't even think of putting their helmets on, and the captain is a fool. Basically, this individual and other people that I've heard of who attack Covenant say that Covenant is full of stupid behavior. Now, that example that JD gives insists that, oh, Covenant is a dumb monster movie with stupid characters. And I immediately thought, okay, it sounds like he's talking about Aliens, which is essentially a dumb monster movie where the crew chooses not to go to a safe planet that they don't really know anything about. All they want to know is where they are. Kick-ass Vasquez, they're these cocky, foolhardy Marines. You don't see them putting on helmets, do you? And that must have been in Ripley's report, right? And they went on the ship and they found thousands of eggs and they were wearing spacesuits. And even then, crew got infected and he seemed fine, and then suddenly he wasn't. And yet all of these Marines go on to LV-426 not wearing helmets. All they bring with them are their guns, in the same sense that Covenant does. And the captain is basically a giant moron, or Lieutenant Gorman. How many drops is this for you, Lieutenant? 38 simulated. How many combat drops? 2, including this one. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. So if you say that Orm is stupid, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to use that as a reason to say that Covenant is a bad film, then why is it bad in that instance, but it's okay for Gorman? And again, the characters in Covenant don't wear helmets, but the characters in Aliens don't wear them either. And the characters in Aliens essentially are just as dumb. In fact, they're even dumber in certain instances, because when they go down to the planet that they don't even check out. They don't do that in Aliens either. Both groups, when they go down to the planet, they just fly down to it. In Aliens, they're essentially a bunch of space cowboys, and they're like, oh boy, it's a bug hunt. Let's go down to LV-426 and shoot a bunch of bugs. And we're going to leave nobody at the ship. That is an incredibly stupid decision. That decision is so incredibly moronic that I don't even understand. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they leave one person behind? But they don't. And it is, of course, a huge problem. And again, it's to illustrate that they're cocky. And I get that. And that's fine. But it's still a stupid decision. It's a really dumb decision. And yet you don't see people attacking that film for it. They say, well, it's okay because they're stupid characters. But it's, again, that double standard. They're allowed to be stupid in that movie. And then people will say, oh, well, they don't take themselves as seriously in that film. It's like some of the characters don't. But all in all, there are plenty of serious characters in that film. Ripley is dead serious throughout the entire film. She gives a very serious performance. It's not tongue-in-cheek. Hicks is very serious. He doesn't joke around like Hudson does. What exactly are we dealing with here? He pays a little bit more attention. Gorman is dead serious. Burke is dead serious. I mean, he jokes around and he goofs around a little bit, but really, he's a corporate executive who's kind of all business. And the tone of the film, for the most part, is serious. It's a serious movie. Its tone is serious, and yet it's a dumb monster movie, so people give it a pass. But when Covenant is essentially the same type of film that Aliens is, it doesn't get a pass for having characters that essentially behave in the exact same way that they do in Aliens. Again, that double standard is really infuriating because it's okay if Cameron does it, but if Ridley Scott does it, again, expectations and double standards essentially lead people to draw conclusions that, as far as I'm concerned, if you compare them side by side, it doesn't really make any sense. And it makes me not want to listen to those individuals. What other stupid things are there in Aliens? It's a film that I like, but there are other stupid things. And before I go any further, I feel as though I should explain what stupid is. Stupid is an operating against one's best interests. And what examples of that could I think of? Well, let's see. Ripley deciding to go back to LV-426. That is a really, really bad idea because she goes in the company of untrustworthy individuals like Burke. Don't let that fool you. I'm really an okay guy. Okay, the company fucked her over in the first film. What does she do? She goes back to LV-426, listening to a guy who she knows is untrustworthy. Get back on the horse. And she knows that he's full of shit. And she's operating under the delusion that she's going to wipe these things out. Really? You know, even if you killed them on that planet, do you really think you're getting rid of them everywhere? If the colony has been exposed to this ship, there's no telling how many of the colonists have been infected. Well, let's assume that the colony is completely destroyed at this point. And for all intents and purposes, it is. Why would Ripley need to go? Okay, I say we take off and nuke the site from orbit. Well, why didn't they just nuke the site from orbit to begin with? And if I were Ripley, I'd be like, Dear Burke, I don't feel like going to LV-426. There's really no reason for me to. I can lead this report with all of the information that you'll ever need. Anyways, we have Ripley's report on disc. I suggest you study it. So why is Ripley there? They don't read the report. They don't listen to her in person. All she's doing by going is exposing herself to unnecessary danger. It's an incredibly stupid and moronic decision. And Ripley, as far as I'm concerned, is an idiot as far as that goes. She is so fucking dumb. It's the same type of criticism that's being leveled at Covenant, but I fully expect fans of Aliens to be upset when they hear that. And they're like, well, wait a second, you know. But that's what the detractors of Covenant sound like. And yet, I can take their criticisms and level it at a film that they enjoy, or that they don't apply the same type of standards that they do to films that they attack, like Covenant, and then suddenly, hey, you know, the shoe's on the other foot. But if you look at Ripley's character, her decision that she makes to go to LV-426 is a stupid one, because again, she could have just given her report to Gorman or Hicks, and even if they could have guaranteed her safety, she's not a soldier, there's no reason for her to go. All they had to do was show up, nuke the site from orbit because everyone's dead. Why didn't they just scan the colony, right? PDTs, personal data transmitters. You're telling me they didn't have the technology to do an orbital scan? They can travel all the way across the galaxy to faraway planets, but they can't scan a planet from orbit and look for those personal data transmitters. And furthermore, the personal data transmitters don't have vital signs at this point? Yeah, okay. All they had to do was scan the colony and look for records, you know, anything. You know, maybe at the last minute someone left some type of recording saying, just like in Lord of the Rings, we are trapped, we cannot get out, they are coming. It's the same kind of idea. Okay, well, everyone's dead. And even when they do the first sweep, sir, this place is dead. Whatever happened here, I think we missed it. Everything is gone. Everything is destroyed. And even Newt says, everyone is dead. Can we go now? Or can I go now? You know, Newt was not wrong in that case. So there were plenty of things to indicate that they should not proceed inside. But why did they do it? Oh yeah, because the captain is a fucking idiot. Proceed inside, the area is secure. And again, the tone of the film is serious. James Horner's score is very serious. And Ripley's like, no, don't go in there, guys. Oh, they're not listening to me. Maybe it was a bad idea for me to go. Huh. All they had to do was nuke the site from orbit before landing on the planet after doing an orbital scan, but they didn't. And you know what? They go down to the planet without any type of protective gear. They don't wear helmets, not the kind that would protect you from any type of biological infection. And in Ripley's report, I can assume that she again told them about Kane's helmet being ineffective at keeping the creature out. Some horrible dream about smothering. So yeah, the Marines are just as stupid as the people in Covenant, and the tone of the film, as far as I can tell, is just as serious, because when people say that it's a dumb monster movie, in the case of JD in my comment section, he says Alien Covenant is a dumb monster movie, and he says Aliens is a dumb monster movie. They're both dumb monster movies, but guess which one gets a pass? Aliens. But he can't really explain why, except that he puts in the argument that it doesn't take itself seriously. I would beg to differ. It's a very serious film. It has instances of comic relief in it, but so does Covenant with Tennessee, or Parker and Brett in Alien. And just because you have characters who are essentially comic relief doesn't mean that it's a lighthearted film. Okay, it's not. Those are some reasons right there. Again, Ripley is very dumb. She's the hero of the movie. What other dumb things does Ripley do? Oh yes, Bishop, the voice of reason. Ripley, in 26 minutes this place is going to be a cloud of vapor the size of Nebraska. Oh, well, I'm going to go on a suicide mission to try and rescue Newt, even though right now they're being cocooned just like the others. They don't kill you. She's alive. Well, even if she found her alive down there, assuming she could in 26 minutes, which is unlikely, essentially what she's doing is going on a suicide mission, which is stupid. It's not intelligent, but she knows better. She goes down there, assuming she can find Newt. At that point, she's probably been cocooned and face-hugged, and yet she just happens to find her in the nick of time. And on top of that, the movie script slows down the face-hugger to the point that Ripley can just show up in the nick of time and save her. Okay, that's transparent writing, and yet that movie, again, is not attacked. And, oh, well, it's not taking itself seriously in this moment. I beg to differ. It's a very serious scene. When the egg opens up, it plays the scary music, and Newt screams, and it's serious. It's a serious scene. And Ripley does it with a straight face. She's not winking at the camera. Okay, so don't try and tell me that it's a dumb monster movie in the sense that, oh, well, it doesn't take itself seriously. Ripley is very serious about saving Newt, in the same sense that she was very serious about saving the cat. And what were some of the criticisms that people said in Alien? Leave the fucking cat, right? Well, leave Newt. She's fucked, okay? In the same sense that they happily left Diedrich and Apone. You can't help them. Ripley even says this, okay, earlier in the film. You can't help them. Right now they're being cocooned just like the others. And yet, oh, well, it's okay if she does that with Newt, though, right? Even though Newt is, for all intents and purposes, probably dead. And if not dead, if she finds her alive, what if she's been face-hugged already? She has an embryo inside her. Does Ripley at that point have what it takes to shoot her? That would have been interesting, actually. I would have liked that if she had rescued her and then Newt was how Alien 3 sort of happens. You know, instead of there being an egg on board the Sulaco, Newt chest bursts, and then it's alien embryo inside her or something like that. Like, I would have liked that. And, of course, that's not what happens, but that would have been suitable. And it would have actually worked with Alien 3, because Newt dies at the start, right? Well, you may as well have it for a reason that makes sense. But instead of it happening with Newt being infected, which would have made sense, they just magically put an egg on board the Sulaco, which, in my opinion, is bad writing. But you don't see people bashing Alien 3 for that, do you? No. So again, these films have instances of bad writing, and yet Covenant is being bashed for it because people say that it's too serious, when again, the double standard sort of prohibits them from realizing that the films that they're praising are guilty of the same crimes that the film that they're attacking. It's bad criticism as far as I'm concerned. Now, I just pointed out a bunch of reasons why Aliens has stupid behavior. in regards to its central protagonist, who people praise as this strong, powerful character, and yet she is making stupid decision after stupid decision. And then, of course, Hudson. He's the comic relief, but he makes plenty of stupid decisions in the film. It's a dumb monster movie where the young girl is constantly in danger to the point that after a while you start to wonder, it's like, okay, I get it, Newt's in danger. Maybe we can let this sort of draw to its inevitable conclusion already and end the film. But they drag out this danger sequence to the point that you're kind of left scratching your head. It's like, okay, at this point I think, why don't they just leave? And that's, again, another stupid thing. When they, I said it earlier in regards to them going down on the planet without any sort of individual on the Sulaco. Why would they need everyone to go onto the surface of LV-426? And again, it's because they're cocky, right? The Space Cowboys argument that I made earlier. Well, okay, well, why is that okay when in Covenant they actually leave people behind and to sort of pilot the ship in orbit? And I'm not saying that every decision that they make in Covenant is perfect, because again, they make mistakes. But the mistakes that they make in Covenant are somehow more stupid than they are in Aliens? No, it's not. And going back to Ripley in regards to her decisions, again, she trusts Burke to a certain extent initially. You could say, oh, well, she knew what he was up to all along. Why would she go? Apart from all of the other things about, going on the planet instead of just scanning it from orbit and, nuking it from orbit without even landing. Oh, but they would have killed Newt. Boo-hoo. It was under military jurisdiction, but there was someone who was there from the company as an advisor. It would be no different than had they sent an android, an A2, like Ash. Do you think if they did, she would have gone? And furthermore, she didn't know enough about the crew to realize that Bishop was an android. And guess why she didn't know? Because Burke didn't tell her. Oh, wow, okay. So not only is he a corporate executive, but he's just neglecting to mention certain things. And Ripley is already starting to look kind of stupid, even before the shit hits the fan. But again, when she reacts to all of these things, it's not tongue-in-cheek. She gives a very serious performance. But she constantly looks like an idiot in the film because she's doing things that put herself in danger, and she's essentially putting her safety in the hands of individuals who are not interested in her safety. Burke tries to kill her later in the film, and she puts herself in the perfect situation for him to kill her. She lets her guard down. She falls asleep with Newt, and it doesn't occur to her that maybe, just maybe, after saying, oh, well, when we get back, I'm going to nail your ass to the wall. And Burke thinks to himself, this character's kind of stupid. She doesn't really think I'm a threat. She constantly is putting her life in my hands. I'm just going to wait for her to go and have nap time with Newt. Then I'm gonna show that bitch what's what. And I kind of think, if I were Ripley, I would have slept with one eye open. I wouldn't have fallen asleep. And you could say, oh, well, she was really tired. And Hicks even says, how long is it before you've had any sleep? 24 hours or 48 hours. I forget what the number was. But she hadn't slept in a long time. I would have said, look, hey, Hicks, can you watch our backs? Can someone watch our backs? We're both going to fall asleep here. Where there's no cameras in the room. If they walk up to the window and they're waving their hands, there's a camera there. But I don't recall there being a camera where they were actually sleeping. They fall asleep, both of them, and they're unsupervised in a colony that has been compromised and is overrun by aliens. Don't you think they could have spared one of the Marines, even Hudson or Vasquez, to watch them while they sleep? Or Hicks? It just seems like an unnecessary risk. And why would you fall asleep in that situation? Say nothing of the colony when you have someone like Burke, who you just threatened, who is untrustworthy, who works for the company that screwed you over in the first film. Doesn't that strike you as just a little bit dumb? And yet, It's okay because Aliens is a dumb monster movie that doesn't take itself seriously, and yet it it actually takes itself extremely seriously. But for whatever reason, if you compare it to Covenant, people need an excuse to make that movie look stupid, so that they say that it's okay in Aliens just so they can attack a movie that they don't like because they have a chip on their shoulders as in regards to it ruining the franchise that they like. That's a theory of mine. You know, they need some type of excuse to attack the film, but it doesn't mean that the way that they're going about it is intelligent. As far as I'm concerned, it's a transparent double standard that they're utilizing to make their film look good and make a film that they don't like look bad. And yet the reasons that they don't like, I suspect, are again just fanboy checklists. But if you look at both films, they're very similar. Early on, when I saw a lot of the previews and the trailers for Covenant, I'm like, this movie seems a lot like Aliens. And yet, Aliens is better. Why is it better? Because it has a queen? What other stupid decisions are there in the film? Oh, the deleted scenes. I didn't even get into that. What about when Newt's parents see the landed spacecraft? What do they do in that scene? They go inside, right? And do they go inside wearing protective gear? No, and they're a mom and pop survey team, right? So you think they would have some type of safety equipment, but they don't. They literally take a flashlight, and the two of them hold hands while they go inside the spaceship, just like in a slasher film. And what happens? They reemerge, and the husband has been face hugged. Oh shit! Okay, let's say that was it. You know, like, whoa, don't go in there. He's going to die. Okay, they killed him and taking it off. I'm not sure if that's what happened in his case. I mean, why would anyone else go on the ship after that? You know, if they go on the ship and this guy has this thing attached to his face, this would mean that other individuals would have had to have gone in the ship and gotten infected. They would have had to have taken eggs from the ship, brought them to the colony, and multiple people would have had to have gotten infected at that point. It's the only thing that makes sense. The only other thing I could think of is the alien burst from Newt's father's chest, and it's the same story as an alien. You know, the creature grows to full size, and what does it do? Does it start taking people back to the ship one by one? That's over 150 colonists. That would take forever. And you're telling me, I mean, the amount of time that would take. I mean, maybe the ship, the Sulaco, took long enough for the creatures to do that in ant-like fashion, you know, taking the colonists one by one back to the colony. It doesn't strike me as likely. I mean, it's a ridiculous image in any case. But regardless of that, just the behavior of the characters, the mom and the pop survey team, and the behavior that they have, they go into this derelict spacecraft that they've never seen before. They know nothing about it. Burke didn't warn them about it. They just find it, and they go inside, and they get infected, and they don't wear spacesuits, and their behavior is incredibly stupid. And that is in the director's cut of Aliens, which a lot of people say is as good as the theatrical cut, you know, so that they acknowledge that scene. And it's okay in that instance. And then you stop and think about it. Well, wait a second. Then how does the colony get infected? And then all the examples that I provide, you know, either the creature is born and it takes people back one by one, or the colonists go to the ship and they get infected there, or they take the eggs back to the colony and the eggs hatch, and then there are multiple infections there. Any way you slice it, it's ridiculous and stupid. And yet you don't hear people complaining about that, even though it's really kind of dumb. So that's yet another example of something stupid in the film. And then you have Ripley, who is, of course, mistrusting of Bishop, and Bishop is, of course, the voice of reason. And you could say, well, he's kind of untrustworthy because he's a corporate android. Well, again, why does she mistrust Bishop, who's an android, when she has a character like Burke standing right next to her who's just as untrustworthy? And then, of course, partway through the film, she decides to just sort of, you know, change her attitude about Burke. You know, she doesn't really like the guy, but then when he says, well, we can't arbitrarily exterminate this valuable species, and this installation has a significant dollar value attached to it, and all that, then suddenly she's mistrusting him. But If I were her, I would have mistrusted Burke right away. But no, it has to be Bishop, who's an android, for her to be like, oh, well, okay, I don't trust you, Bishop, even though you're actually an okay guy. I like Burke, who's a total dick. But I'm not gonna just attack him outright, even though he totally deserves it, and he doesn't really give off a trustworthy kind of vibe at all. I'm gonna put my life into his hands and go on a mission. According to it's his idea. If I were Ripley, I would have said, "Go fuck yourself, Burke. You couldn't get me on the Sulaco if you tried. I'm staying here and I'm gonna work my shitty job and I'll see a therapist, okay? But I'm not gonna go on some suicide mission with you." That would have been my response if I were Ripley. But no. Instead, what she does is she puts all of her mistrust early on in the film and the person who least deserves it. Bishop is probably the one character in the film that she could have trusted more than anyone else, apart from maybe Hicks. And yet she chooses to essentially put all of her mistrust in the wrong guy, again, making her look stupid. So we have a protagonist in this film that is making bad decision after bad decision. It's not just the Marines, it's not just Gorman, even though they make plenty of decisions. And then, of course, you have the atmospheric processor scene, the goddamn town meeting, where let's saddle up, Apone. What do they do in this situation? Again, do they send a scout? No, they don't send a scout. They don't, like earlier on I said they should have done an orbital scan and, look for the PDTs that way. Well, they don't do that. Instead, what they do is they go down to the planet without any type of safety gear, and they poke around, and then Gorman says, oh, well, the area is secure, and then they decide to send everybody into the atmospheric processors. They don't just send one person, or better yet, why not just send Bishop? And be like, yo, Bishop, okay, we're going to give you a smart gun, and we're going to give you a motion tracker, and we're going to give you a camera, and we're all going to just sit back here while you look around, right? Okay, and you're going to determine if anyone is alive or not. And if you die, we don't care because you're just an artificial person anyways. Chances are, if you are attacked, here's a grenade, blow yourself up. What you're going to do is you're going to go into the atmospheric processor, and you're going to determine if all the personal data transmitters are belonging to individuals who are dead or alive. And when you find a colonist, here's a device, you can disable their personal data transmitter if they are dead. And he would go through, find every colonist. Oh, you're dead. Okay, I'll turn that one off. I'll turn that one off. And he's an android, right? Now, in Alien Isolation, the working Joes are confronted by the Stompy, the xenomorph in that game. He did not attack them. Now, of course, in Aliens, the Queen rips Bishop in half. But let's assume that they were operating under the logic that because he's not human, the xenomorphs might not pay him any heed. There's a certain logic to this. Even if later in the film they may have been mistaken, at least would have made sense. It makes more sense to send Bishop, who isn't alive in the sense that he's human, down to the atmospheric processor by himself to conduct this dangerous mission, rather than send everybody and have no way of them escaping if things go wrong. Ripley has to drive the APC down there herself and drive it through a wall to rescue them. And everything starts to go wrong. They're surrounded. And furthermore, when they go down there, they neglected to mention to these Marines beforehand that they are carrying weapons that can breach the cooling towers of the atmospheric processor and result in a thermonuclear explosion. Adios, muchachos. Wow, that's kind of dumb. So not only do they go in not knowing anything and exposing themselves to unnecessary risk, but they do so putting themselves at further risk simply by virtue of the weapons that they are carrying. So again, it's another instance of them not doing their research and being led by someone who doesn't really know any better. And Ripley sort of neglected to mention this to them until the worst possible moment once they're inside. And then at that point, they could have said, well, okay, we can't go in here with these weapons. I would have said, well, let's not go in there then. let's back out. Let's bug out and call it even, like Hudson says, right? Hey, Hudson, yeah, that's not a bad idea. What do we sit around talking about this for? You know? Again, and this is the idiot of the film, the fool, like King Lear. And yet he has a point. At that point, I would have said, hey, guys, let's not go in there, and they're probably dead, right, Ripley? What happened to Kane? Oh yeah, Kane. Let's look at that report that Ripley said. At this point, what's the rush? You know, why do they have to rush headlong into danger at this point? And earlier on, okay, it kind of makes sense because they have these big guns, they have smart rifles, and yada yada. Okay, and at that point, okay, I get it. At least they're well armed at that point. But now you have taken the guns away from the cowboys, and they don't even want to go in there. And they do. And you could say, well, they're just following orders, right? But I would have happily have risked a court-martial rather than go in there with just a pistol and harsh language. You know, flame units only. I want rifles slung, no grenades. Is he fucking kidding? You know, everyone hates that guy. They all could have just said no, right? And yeah, okay, it's the military and you're not allowed to question your commander. Well, okay, congratulations. You have just made a stupid decision. And yes, it's convenient enough that he's in the APC and can command them from over a radio, essentially. But as Ripley, I would have stepped in and said, hey, guys, don't go in there. Let's take a second and gather our thoughts. Go over my report. Let's think about the next move before making our next decision and risking all of our lives unnecessarily. Oh, wait, she's just a civilian. She's just there as an advisor. So that's yet another stupid thing that Ripley did in that situation. She went as an advisor where she has no capacity to actually tell anyone what to do. Okay, this includes Burke. This includes Gorman. So it's yet another stupid thing that Ripley did when she sort of ignored these sort of tiny little details. She's just as foolhardy as they are. So again, yeah, just that entire sort of foray into the atmospheric processor, sans rifles or sans grenades or anything, just flamethrowers basically. And then it's just, there's just dumb moment after dumb moment in this film. And then of course, when she goes to rescue Newt, and after she's rescued Newt, and she's facing down the Queen. This is dumb because she had persuaded the Queen to have the Queen's cronies back off. It's like, hey, warrior aliens, don't fuck with this bitch. She's going to scramble my eggs, so leave her be. What does she do? She antagonizes the Queen. She lights the eggs on fire and then she shoots everyone, and then conveniently she doesn't get hit by acid. Why this isn't seen as stupid, I don't know. It's stupid because, again, she shoots herself in the foot and it makes the whole point of the negotiation moot. But she also doesn't get hit or coated by acid like every other character in the film. What happens to Drake when the alien is killed across the room from him? He gets hit in the face with acid. What happens to Hicks when he shoots the alien directly in front of him? He gets coated with acid. What happens to Ripley when she shoots the alien at her feet with a pulse rifle, point blank, with multiple salvos from her pulse rifle? She does not get hit with acid. And furthermore, she's not wearing any armor. Hicks at least was wearing armor. So again, this movie is chock full of stupid things and convenient sort of plot devices where Ripley has invulnerability essentially from acid. She does not get hit by acid, but only because the script demands it, and yet it's incredibly transparent, and yet you do not see people bashing that film for it. And they say, oh, JD in my comment section compares Aliens to Commando. It doesn't take itself as seriously as Covenant. It would be like nitpicking Commando. Please. Commando is very tongue-in-cheek. Aliens is not a tongue-in-cheek film. I feel like I could keep going, of course, but I think I'm going to cut the video short here. But those are some examples of stupid behaviors in Aliens that people basically take with a grain of salt. And yet, if they are hungry for blood, they put the salt shaker away and they attack things at face value for the same reasons they should be attacking these classic films, but don't. And I'm not even saying that you should attack classic films. You should enjoy them for what they are. And they're perfectly willing to do this with Aliens, but they're not willing to do it with Covenant. And I have to ask myself, well, why? Why are they so bloodthirsty in this instance? And the only thing I can think of is, again, these are fans with chips on their shoulders in regards to a franchise that they think should be conducted in a certain way, and when it doesn't, they need an excuse. Even if it's not a good one, even if it's kind of a dumb one or a transparent one, even if it's one conducted purely out of bias or double standard, they will use it as long as they have an excuse to attack something. And I think human nature sort of dictates that people be combative. As Arnold Schwarzenegger said in Terminator 2, it's in your nature to destroy yourselves. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you feel as though my videos merit further views, by all means, like, share, and subscribe to this video, and leave a comment. Perhaps I'll talk about it in future videos. Anything you can do to share these videos with other people helps a lot. There's only so much of that I can do myself, so anything you can do to help, I appreciate a great deal. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.